Ta-da! And another one gets started. Boy,
I'm so glad you were able to go today, and I'm glad I was able to go as well.
Dad was feeling anxious, so he wanted to go out on the swing and wanted to. So we were just kind of hanging out for the day. And,
he was feeling rambunctious, I would say.
A little bit, yeah, a little bit.
He was feeling a little squirrely.
Yep. And so now he's back in his room smoking a cigarette and eating a bowl of cowboy shit. So he is
holy mama
watching America's Got Talent from 10 years ago.
Well, you just got us age restricted, but totally worth it, man. I could use a bowl of that right now. That sounds just delicious.
It is about every other week. I make up a giant vat of it and eat it until I can't stand it anymore.
Perhaps, just in case we get anybody watching this ever, we should give them the recipe right now so they'll know we're not
shepherd's
eating
pie. It's bachelor lazy shepherd's pie. It's fried sausage. I use ground sausage still. Ground sausage. I actually use real potatoes now. I have upgraded, so I peel potatoes. And then,
brilliant.
Then I whisk them, and then a bag of frozen veggies.
So good.
I'll even occasionally melt some cheese on top. So shepherd's pie is or cowboy shit, the laziest, bachelorist way to make shepherd's pie.
You know what's awesome about this is that I've been really on my own case here the last, I don't know how long it's been, a couple of years, maybe 5, for being in a place where I just didn't feel like I couldn't find my words, right? And now I'm remembering, wait a minute. The whole reason we call that cowboy shit is because I was in a place at 30 years ago
where you couldn't find
you were saying, what are you making? And I was like, shepherd's pie was not coming out of my face. So I said
cowboy shit. Yep. Cowboy shit and check your butt. Yep. Cowboy shit. Check your butt. Yeah. There's a lot of vernacular caused from brain fart.
Yeah, that was born out of brain fart, no doubt. That was awesome, and still delicious.
Still, yes.
Oh yeah.
It's one of those no-brainers that it's just we ate so much of it that you start to crave it after a while, and that's
it's
good
still
stuff.
ubiquitously good.
Yes.
When I do make it, and it's not a real common thing for me to make, but when I do make it, let me put it this way: I do probably 90% of the cooking up at the house for my sweet love, who doesn't do a lot of cooking,
too, actually,
and for the boys. Now, that's not to say that a lot of cooking goes on, because what really goes on a lot is takeout galore. And I'm not there to do that. That's not my thing. When I am home for dinner, I cook dinner. It's just, I gig so much, and I work 40 hours, so I'm doing 65-hour weeks pretty commonly, and that means I'm not there for
country
dinner.
song right now.
65 hours a week. Anyway, so there on the occasion when I do cook stuffs, there's a few dishes that I'll cook that will not get eaten in leftovers. Like if I do up a stir fry with a lot of vegetables, that does not get eaten. Or if it does get eaten, the meat's picked out of it. They pick out the meat.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
And a few of the things can stay in the fridge, but shepherd's pie is not one of those things. When I cook up shepherd's pie, it's gone.
Yeah.
And hamburger mac is the other one. Hamburger mac.
I still that's
disappears.
I like the shepherd's pie or the cowboy shit because it sticks to the spoon and Dad has a better time eating it. The hamburger mac. I make almost as often as I make the cowboy shit, and he will sprinkle hamburger mac around the room. So the cowboy shit's safer. Something that sticks to the spoon. Yeah.
Come on, baby. Work with me here. It's not working with me. I can't win. Webcam. Hey! All right.
Well done. And you put yourself right there in the center. There you go. I have to have the camera.
I feel okay.
Okay.
I fucking with you. We've lost our child safe rating, so fuck it.
I can have those edited out, but it doesn't sound right, and nobody cares anyway. So,
yeah. Especially
the only
kids.
way this is, the only way this is ever going to get any play or any traction. I mean, it's not back in the day. Back in the day on YouTube, you could pick your nose and you'd get 1,000 views. With today's algorithm, you can, as I want to say, show your butthole, and nobody's going to pay attention because nobody cares. So we are.
You pretty much have to light yourself on fire.
Yeah. That's hard to watch. That was rough.
Yeah.
It made my palms and feet sweat. I didn't like that at all. But yeah, chicks, man. No. So I'm mostly I'm just trying to again accept this. Oh, as I was saying, the only way this will get any attention anywhere is if we're involved in some sort of tragedy of like you're saying, catching yourself on fire. But let's not do that one. Let's not try that.
It's painful.
That's it. If you're gonna go, that's not the way. But
sometimes
I'm sure it's going to get a lot of attention. It's going to bring a lot of attention to it.
It makes me wonder, do I not believe in anything so strongly enough that I wouldn't self-immolate?
I would hope not.
Is there anything that somebody should believe in enough to do that? Or is that just mental illness, pure and simple? Which one would you, where do we put that? What basket does that go in?
I would have to say warranted mental illness and desperation. It's clearly enough stress has been put on him that his mind snapped, and the only thing he thought he could do was call attention to himself. Now, I've always kind of divided these episodes or these outbreaks up into aggressive or to make it easy, I want to say right wing versus left wing, but it's not that simple. It's outward aggression and inward self-hatred, I think, is what I put them. Because you have the people that snap because they're stressed so much, but when they snap, they kill other people. And then you have the other group that are under a huge amount of stress, but when they snap, they hurt themselves. So and as I see it play out in the news a lot, it tends to be that aggressive kind of gun conservative I don't want to say MAGA, the right-wing extremist seems to be the ones that take the guns to the churches and shoot people up. And left-wing extremists, super left-wing, seem to be the ones that catch them themselves on fire. Or just the huge amount of, say, white, middle-aged male suicides, I think, is indication, a giant indication of the people that do self-harm. And all the shootings, I think, is a giant indication of all the people that do outward harm. And
now, we've seen a couple very distinct exceptions to that general rule.
Sure.
Here of late.
Sure. Always exceptions.
Notable. But carry on. You were about to say all of that. I didn't mean to interrupt. So all of that.
I'm also I'm also a joint and an edible in, and
Okay, so don't interrupt you when you're getting to your train of thought. Sorry, that was my bad. My bad.
all right.
We're gonna hopefully it'll come back to you and you'll be able to finish that one. I'm so sorry. I don't want to.
It's just watching. I think. Oh, none of it's. I try to also. I get angry because I'm left, and so I get angry when other people that are suffering want to hurt other people. Hurt people. I guess is the phrase, and that bugs me. But it only bugs me because it's more in your face. It's hard. I feel sort of in my heart or in the back of my head bad for the hundreds of thousands of middle-aged white men that kill themselves because they're stressed out. That feels bad. But feeling bad and feeling sad and feeling guilt is not as much, to me, a motivator as feeling angry when other people are attacked because of other people are killed instead of people killing themselves. It's kind of the anger. Again, if it bleeds, it leads, and the news just isn't talking about all the men killing themselves. They're talking about all the men killing other people. Men. Testosterone. Testosterone is
interesting
is
that you had mentioned the testosterone. That because testosterone is probably what I would chalk up as being the lead cause or the lead factor in a situation where somebody who is transgendered female to male picks up gun and goes on rampage. Yeah. And we've seen that happen a few times now in the last few months or a year.
It's also it's.
Hang on a sec. Leave a message.
That'll get edited out. That'll get us blocked. The music.
Yeah.
No, but the other issue is I think what's bled into society, the program of society, is the amount of guns that we have. So even someone super passive, super flighty, super feminine, super non-testosterone has been inundated with news, flashy news of people with guns killing other people. And so when you're angry, I would imagine it wouldn't matter now who you are. There's so many guns. It's kind of like if there's a hammer in your hand, the entire world looks like a nail. Well, almost every American has a gun in their pocket. So if there's a gun in your hand, the entire world's going to look like your enemy. And so I think that societal thing, the way America has decided to go, is also playing in. So you're going to get women, I think, more and more estrogen-based shootings as well. And it's all, to me, it's not really the gun, except the guns are there, and it's not the hammer. It's if it's in your hand, and that's the tool you got. Peter Gabriel mentioned something in a song about it's hard to be a man when there's. Oh no, it's hard to be a man with a gun in your hand. Everybody wants to rule the world. Tears for Fears.
Tears for Fears.
Yeah, it's hard to be a man when there's a gun in your hand. Yeah, that was it.
I don't know.
You're the musician here, man.
Yeah, I do that song, and I don't remember that exact lyric in that exact song. Although I do remember the lyric in somewhere in the song.
I don't know if there's. I'm high, but I know it's Tears for Fears. I thought it was Peter Gabriel.
Well, anyway, there's something very close in there somewhere.
So
never mind.
Yeah, so I think it used to be
out straight.
Yeah, when there was flintlocks and swords, it used to be the testosterone angry male would kill other people, and the estrogen based or the more introverts would kill themselves. But now that everybody has a gun, happy day. That's the tool du jour of this decade, and the decade before. Oh well,
for America,
this is the way. Yeah.
No, I'm
sure gun deaths or violence. There's depression. I'm sure that it's not just American white middle-aged males killing themselves. I'm sure it's.
I totally agree.
But in But in other countries where there's not as many guns, there aren't as many gun deaths.
There's cars.
So it's okay. Yep, there's other ways,
yeah.
but it's not guns. Yeah. And so if you don't go outside, you're less likely to be killed by a car, I suppose, than killed by random gunfire or drive-bys. There's not a lot of drive-by car killings. I'd say guns are more dangerous.
So speaking of guns and shootings, and I don't, maybe this is a really crap thread for us to go on to for today's, but let's just go there for a little bit. If we want to abort, we'll abort. But
okay.
There was the Super Bowl parade in Kansas City shooting that turned out to be not terrorist related and not really even, frankly, Super Bowl parade related. It was just,
young angry men.
Yeah.
From what I heard. Yeah.
And on Bill
I also
Maher,
hear there's an illegal alien killed a college girl on college campus. So, gosh, all illegal aliens are bad now.
That's going to be the perception, and if they don't like it, they better start straightening up their numbers, their ranks from within.
Yeah, I'm sure glad no white men kill women. That would be
on Bill Maher
critical to.
Yeah, on Bill Maher, Ann Coulter called it when she said,
God.
"Yeah." Ann Coulter was.
Name in so
I know.
Long.
I hadn't said that name in so long.
Gave me a.
Ann Coulter was the name I was trying to remember a few episodes back when I was talking about the blonde lady that was, whatever. I don't even remember what we were talking about, but I was trying to remember her name. Could not remember it.
Why?
Anyway.
Why? God.
Here's the thing. She said, "It's not a white man. We already know that." And Bill Maher says, "But they haven't released the information. How do you know it's not a white man?" And she said, "Because if it had been somebody who was white, or if the shooters had been white, we'd have their names and and faces on TV already, because that fits the narrative." Now,
maybe.
Right. Now, everybody was like going, "Oh, poo. But then, of course, it came out and everybody saw their faces and everything. We don't have to go rehash that. But the thing that I was just going to ask you with regards to that was, in that particular case, was Ann Coulter wrong?
No, the phrase of broken clock is right twice a day. I mean, you make enough predictions, you're going to be right on some of them.
So you think she was right, but only by accident?
No, I'm sure there was. She had a reason. Okay. She had some a logic that she followed, but that
the logic that she followed. The logic that she followed was that they weren't releasing pictures or names.
Right.
They weren't releasing mug shots.
Right.
That was it.
Now, I don't know if you remember. I don't think you weren't online a lot. I've lived this whole time way too much online. There was a time when, of the hundreds and hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of shootings, that in the beginning they would just release right away, and they would release primarily when it was brown people. It was like, Middle Eastern terrorists, because they were always looking for the terrorists. It's terrorism. And then it kind of got overdone and people got really annoyed with it, and they stopped releasing names and photos altogether for a long time. In fact, I think Philip DeFranco that was the time that Philip DeFranco stopped posting faces for any of the shooters. So if there's any shooters, he demotes who they were, so as to not encourage other people to want to get famous for being a shooter.
Right. That was the demarcation, because there are some people who will do that to try to make their face and name infamous, go down in
make
infamy.
Me famous. Yeah,
that's going to be
the Kim Dracula. Make me famous.
Yeah, that's going to be the motivation for some of these guys. But
yeah,
here's a good question for you. Clearly, I don't think it's safe to say that that was the motivation for these Super Bowl parade shooters. But do you think it was?
I purposely haven't followed.
Yeah. Do you think it was the motivation to become famous for, like, say, what's her face that did the I'm talking about the TG female to male that did the school shooting up in I want to say Nashville.
I think that was a political, as most of them are in some way political, to bring attention, much like the self-immolation. They probably have, I don't want to say delusions of grandeur, but they have the idea that they're going to make more of a difference now than they could have not doing anything. I mean, I can understand the logic of it. But see, the mental illness of it is, and I don't want to get this thing banned, if you were really at the point where you were going to murder someone, you were going to take a gun and go kill people to bring attention, why aren't you trying to kill the people that are causing the damage? So if you're a right-wing fanatic, why aren't you spending half a second trying to figure out how to assassinate whoever it is you think is bad? Or if you're left-wing, why don't you try and figure out how to... Yeah, see, this is why I'm going to be very careful here.
Why we want to be real super careful to not... We want to just say we're not promoting any stochastic
I'm not encouraging it, but see,
here.
this is where I get the idea that it is more of a mental health issue because they're not being rational about it. The shooters, terrorists, no matter what color they are, seem to just want to bring attention to who they are and their own manifesto, because they usually write some sort of manifesto and leave some stuff online.
Very
so they want their narrative to be read and written in blood. Whereas if you were
which is
like a
really
freedom
interesting.
fighter,
in the case of the Nashville shooter, the narrative wasn't released until way later. They wanted to keep that narrative under wraps, or I should say that manifesto under wraps, because it didn't apparently fit the narrative. Why? Why do you suppose?
No, you can have that. You can have that idea of their agenda, trying to make it fit their own agenda, because it doesn't fit their narrative.
So why didn't they release the manifesto?
Well, Philip DeFranco doesn't do that either, specifically not to, one, endanger people, further make a copycat, or to make them famous. They want their manifesto read, and if people believe if they do a heinous act, they're going to have their manifesto read on the internet, it's going to encourage them to do it. So I think there's a lot, I think the best of people where they're not reading it or letting it known to discourage other people from doing it. But I'm sure there's people with an agenda that, if it doesn't fit my agenda or doesn't fit my narrative, I just don't report
in this case, I think, and I'm not sure, but I think we were talking about the Nashville police. I'm not sure exactly who the decision maker was on whether that manifesto got released to the public or not. But I think it was somebody who was either part of the Nashville police or somewhere up that chain. So maybe the mayor or not the mayor, maybe the chief of police,
maybe
something like that.
Go back to yeah, sure. Or you could
what
go
was
back
their
to the last
motivation?
shooting. I don't know. What was the motivation for the last manifesto that wasn't read? Or the one before that? 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 The only reason we're questioning this one is because it's today, right? There's going to be another one tomorrow. There's going to be been thousands of them yesterday. So everyone is releasing information and not releasing information based on what they think is best for their side or their party or their idea or for society. I could second guess all day long what nefarious reasons hairless monkeys have to say or not say things. And all of those reasons are going to be true. Marijuana, man, has some. Yes, there's going to be bad guys that are brown, and there's going to be bad guys that are white. And if you're a left-wing news channel and they're brown, you're probably not going to announce it as quick. If you're a right-wing news channel and they're brown, you're going to announce it as fast as fucking possible. There's heads and tails. It's just, I mean, you could, if you're conservative, if you're conservative, what your amygdala is picking up on is the brown people, the terrorists, the illegals, the whatever the tingles the conservative part of the danger brain. I'm a progressive. I see the opposite. I see the dangers in the hen house. I see the foxes guarding the hen house. I see the right wingers. I see the Caucasian, Christian, Confederate Nazis in my midst. And those are the ones I'm afraid of. So I see that side of it. So they're two sides of the same paranoia amygdala. It just depends on what your paranoia focuses on. And mine happens to be on domestic issues, since I live domestically. And conservatives seem to be more worried about the other and losing or having stuff taken from them, that kind of thing. So it's just two different, it's conservative and progressive.
I don't know if I necessarily see conservative as seeing that. I would think that conservatives are probably more focused on the domestic themselves.
But you could, again, whatever label you want. That's it's the amygdala. Are you afraid of the others out there, or are you afraid more of concern about the people right in front of you?
Right. But when you start to talk about amygdala, that is exactly when I try to say, well, shoot, I don't want to react in fear to anything if I can help it.
Well, you have a giant fist-sized organ in your head, probably a little smaller, but like a fist-sized organ in your head dedicated to fear. So good luck trying to manage that. Well, that's like having a machine gun in your pocket and going, gosh, please don't see a reason to kill anybody. Your amygdala is, that's a trap.
A machine gun in your pocket does not necessarily mean that everybody with a machine gun in their pocket is looking for a target. If that were the case, there would be multiple mass shootings from people, in boot camp constantly.
Yeah.
But either we're able to really drive our brains, operate our brains and our bodies, or we're not. Doesn't the progress of the last 10,000 years kind of suggest, that Steven Pinker is more or less on to something with the better angels of our nature?
Sure. And really, we are. I try and keep in mind, I try not to get too upset by watching soldiers catch themselves on fucking fire. This shit's upsetting.
I can totally dig that. That's upsetting. But the thing is that when you start to go, okay, that could not, clearly that wasn't rational, and it would be hard to argue that it was reasonable.
Or was it? I mean, is he right? Is it going to bring attention? Did he have a way to bring more attention? Now, do not catch yourself on fire. But he's also not wrong that it's not doing what he probably wanted it to do, is bring attention to whatever his manifesto was. It's going to work like a motherfucker.
Did he leave a manifesto? I guess we can only hope.
His manifesto was his protest, and then we're gonna, I'm sure, see on his social media or whoever he's talked to, interviews, how he feels, and that will be his manifesto if he didn't leave one. But the dealio is stress, and I think. I use in the back of my head, and I made that picture, the frogs in a pot of boiling water with guns in their hands, and the pot of boiling water has American flags sticking out of it. So my idea with that is that America is a pot of boiling water, and as it gets hotter, as the heat gets turned up, depending on what you have in your hand and what direction you're facing is where you're going to see your enemy. So if you're a paranoid right-wing guy with a lot of guns and you're looking for the enemy, or you know the enemy is the government, once the water gets hot enough, once the heat gets turned up enough and you pop, well, you can guess the direction different people are going to go when they pop. We are a statistical creature. So I harp, or I focus on the people with guns because they're pointed at other people. There's other people
in some cases, I guess.
Yeah, there's other people that when the water gets too hot around them, they put a nipple on a bottle and they drink themselves to death, or they hide, or they do some other thing that primates do to deal with stress. And my issue has always been, if there's more guns, the more stress you have, the more guns are going to pop. So at the same time,
I suppose we're seeing that to some degree.
Yeah, I'm also going to admit, clearly, it's not the guns. It's the popping. It's the heat. If we could turn down the heat, I think less guns would go off. But nothing is being done to turn down the heat.
In this analogy, what is causing the heat?
Economic stress. Economic stress. That's just, it's America, so everything's rated in dollars. If you want the blessings of the God of America, you need dollars to rain down on you as blessings.
So would we say socioeconomic, political conditions then?
Sure.
Just put them all together?
All of that. But it's also the socio also is going to involve the fact that men, the big thing, testosterone, the group with the most testosterone, seems to have lost its control, or its our ability to be central as functional. As men, you're stronger and had a role that you knew. And now that role, and this is evolutionary wise, primates, the male primate had kind of a role in the tribe, the hunter-gatherers, the strong, the whole classic thing. And we don't have that anymore because guns, again, one of the things, have made everyone equal. You don't have to be a large, aggressive male to have some agency in the tribe. You can be the smallest, daintiest woman and canoe anyone else's head. So guns have played a role in that. Swords played a role in that.
I kind of feel like guns as an equalizer is a good thing.
Right. And then, of course, the other thing that men had control of, or that we felt that women were constrained by, was pregnancies, children. And with birth control, see, religion has figured this out. This is why religion doesn't like birth control or abortion, because it gives more agency to women. And then they take that and do whatever women do when they have their extra time that men don't like. And it takes agency away from men because they had different pressures that we knew how to handle that. We knew how to handle pressures of women being stuck with children and doing our thing. But now everything's topsy-turvy. Women can take down a whole forest because they can drive a bulldozer, just like everybody else. So our technology has made our differences moot. And I think a lot of men, particularly, actually, I don't want to say just men, primates are having problems with gluttony. I used to...
Okay, so that sounds like a first world problem.
No, because you get farmers in third worlds. They're using tractors now.
But so you wouldn't be able to call them gluttons, would you?
Yeah. No, gluttons, by glutton, I'm not meaning food. I'm meaning gluttons of ease, everything is a first world problem because we don't have the stresses of the previous world. We didn't have 6 women out of 10 dying in childbirth. We didn't have most men dying from fighting. We have now a soft enough life because of our technology that we can address that. It's taking us out of our fight and flight, our survival mode. And so we're not in survival mode, and we have technology, but we're still trying to, as I made a video a little bit ago, we're trying to use a program that evolved in Windows 95 that sort of worked in Windows 7, and now we're in Windows 11, and the program doesn't work anymore, and it was a shit program to begin with. So we're all kind of lost and trying to figure out the new operating system, and we've, as a species, never been here before, and none of us are handling it okay. I'm not handling it okay, but I also see people shooting up everything, people catching themselves on fire. And at the same time, the red pill community, I'm seeing bitches be crazy. They will just shove everything they can possible between their legs as they're humping up the tree of hypergamy. I mean, more power to them. But those things have never been addressed in a society like this, where we have social media, and not only are women kind of doing probably what they always wanted to do, but were constrained by nature, the struggle. And now they don't have the struggle, and now they have the strength, the technology equal to men. So they're in their, what do they call it, the 304 phase or the hoe phase. They're fucking around. And now we all get to find out. Men are fucking around too. I don't know. I wish less men would fuck around by killing themselves. But we're all fucking around. And I don't know. Before we found out by kind of leaning on religion, I think was a big one, a big constraining. Again, being right for the wrong reasons, it probably constrained us. All of this, I'm rambling because I'm really high, but it's all a build-up from tribal. It's all a build-up from tribal, and how evolution evolved to get us to manage that, and then we just kept getting bigger because we're just smart enough to make cool stuff, and every time we get bigger, we're having to readjust our social cues, and we're getting worse and worse and worse at it. And now I think we're in such deep water that as primates, I don't think we know what to do. Clearly, watching the news, watching people go crazy, I think we're at the edge of the human ability to hold on to a software that is society that is exponentially changing with our technology, and we're not. And that's coming from an indica blend. I'm not sure what it is. And a live resin edible. So yay.
I can only imagine.
So that's, I think the stress is all that. If we could manage to find a way, a philosophy, if you would.
Well, that's what I was going to ask you, actually. Is there, are there any individuals that you see, any at all, whether they are somebody famous or just somebody that you have, somewhat famous, social media famous, or just somebody that you know in your orbit, not famous? Is there anybody that you see that is responding to the additional heat in any kind of a way that you feel like is not just out of straight stress reaction, but some other more reasonable, thought out, responsive response? Anybody at all?
Not really.
Elon Musk. I'm just tossing out names. I don't know.
Yeah, his social. Our problems aren't technology. Is the problem. Musk is trying to solve our problems with technology, and it's going to be part of it. The stress of driving, I think, the modern stresses are definitely, if we didn't have to drive and we didn't have that time strain or that constraint, I think that would take some of the stress off. I think a bigger stress would be if we didn't have to own a car or maintain a car. If you wanted to, if you liked it and you liked to bling and you liked to fix that up and could afford to, then yes. But if you're just someone in the city that wants to be able to get around, I think the freedom of travel brings stress down. And I think Musk
does that mean owning a car?
No, not if they're self-driving. So that's where technology that's where technology could help. But we're not there yet.
You know what's
so our
interesting? You
technology
know what
really
is
isn't helping.
what I hear you saying. Let me just repeat a few things back to you in a different bit of ordered way, and then also toss out some ideas while I'm at it. What I'm hearing you saying is that everybody, and particularly women, because they were historically less leveraged or less able to employ leverage than men,
Or different. They had different leverage, yeah.
Yeah. Now, due to technology, they've for all intents and purposes have got access to a lot of the same leverage that men have that have given men the edge in terms of brute strength.
Yeah, mechanical strength has outpaced physical muscle strength.
Now, what I hear you saying is that if there was some texts that are going to help alleviate stress, and I'm going, that's very interesting. I think I hear you saying that. What is interesting about that is, if we were to set the clock back 100 years, maybe 120, 130 years, more or less, there was probably some people who were saying, there's some tech that we're working on here, and that tech is going to be the motor car, and that tech is going to alleviate the stress that we have right now of horse manure-filled streets. Right. That was a thing.
Right.
Or just even having to live the equestrian lifestyle, which has become, because of motor cars, equestrian lifestyle has now become something that is
novel. It's novel.
It's novel. It's quaint. It's quaint, and it's something you can now aspire to because it's actually
it's expensive. It's a luxury.
It is considered a luxury now, and what's interesting about that whole concept is that it wasn't really considered a luxury 150 years ago. It was how you got around.
Right. It's how you got work done. It was more than it's more than how you got around. It was how we got work done.
Yes, exactly.
Horse was our first steam engine.
That's right. Horsepower, baby. So it's funny that it has become this thing that is now just left to being novel and upper class, even a luxury if you want, and equestrian, and it's something that a lot of people could aspire to. I probably aspire to it myself, except that I'm really hung up on wanting to be a traveler. And so the only way I could do equestrian and travel is to travel and rent horses wherever I go.
Travel on horseback.
That would be something, but if I was going to travel at that slow pace, personally, this is just my own thing. And this is something I want you to seriously consider while I'm on the topic, because I want to do this. I really, before I die, I want to ride my bicycle across the continental U.S. and into Canada if I can, and even into Mexico if I can do so safely, and anywhere else I can transport my body to with a bicycle. I want to do that. You game?
Wow. That was the big fantasy back in the day.
Yeah. I still want to do that.
That was when I lived and breathed everything bicycle. I had the whole Campagnolo biking short outfit, the hat, the helmet with the rear view mirrors on. I was
just let that stew in the back of your brain, because I just saying that is something I still want to do. I would, someday when I'm not working, and
the answer is absolutely. I think it would be fantastic.
Yeah.
My hesitance, the pausing, is
the logistics.
No. Very soon I will probably have the time and be able to do it. It's the pain. All of my shit hurts really bad. So my knees are garbage. I have nodules on the tendons in the back. My heels, I've got hernias in both. I have some issues.
Yeah.
And the remembering back to how hard we pushed it and how hard I pushed it when I was 12, 13 is when
we wouldn't push it that hard. We wouldn't push it that hard. As for pain management, I know you know what to do about that. And you do it already. And you're going to do it even more as you get yourself in a place to do it more. You know what to do. So what I was really thinking of was hopefully if they could just take it up 1 or 2 more next gen levels of solar tech. What I'd really love to do is have a solar array. And the only way I could see making this work is to have the solar array mounted on a trailer that goes behind the bike, but then helps to power an electric motor. And there could be a battery array, but the only downside to a battery array is that that will, however much battery array you want to have, that's going to increase the weight.
So you're talking about an electric bicycle.
Yeah. It'd be hybrid.
Just by what you're saying, just from what you've said, it kind of tells me that you haven't been following electric bicycle technology much.
Well, I haven't been following electric bicycle technology so terribly much, but I have been following solar tech and battery tech.
Okay.
And so that's where I'm at.
Boy, are you going to be surprised.
Okay, blow my mind.
Well, just like I subscribe to mattress review channels, I am nerdy enough that I am subscribed to multiple mattress review channels. I'm also nerdy enough, and probably unstable enough, I am subscribed to multiple dedicated electric bicycle review channels. And there's electric, Baja bikes, mountain bikes, that'll go 150 miles on a charge. And they're as light as the original mountain bikes we had, and will charge in just a couple hours.
What battery array are they using
batteries
to do
are
that?
The batteries are in the tubing of the bicycle.
How would they make that light?
The motors are hub driven.
Okay, the motors themselves could be pretty well light, more or less.
Yeah, super light.
But the battery packs themselves, how do they keep those light?
Modern technology, William. Bill and Ted.
I know. I'm on your sub reference.
Whoa! Technology. Yeah. Whoa. Battery tech has gotten really good, and you even have electric bikes that have regen on them. So if you use your electric motor to go up, you can regen
when you're going down the hill. You can.
Down.
Yeah, for sure. Yes.
And the parts have gotten so efficient that you can now. When I say 150 miles on a charge, that's also taking into account. They take in that you're pedaling some. So you're putting in a Snickers worth of energy and the battery to go like 100.
Still a hybrid,
miles. Right? Which is what you're going to want anyway. But
sure.
No, if you want to go across the country and have electric bicycles, I am way more on board. I am way more on board with that, and we can do a lot more than you think. We can go farther. We will be able to go a long ways in a day, and then be able to stop for lunch and then go another long way, probably longer than we'd want to have our asses pounded by the hardness.
Now, here's a logistical question. Where do we charge those batteries when they go dead? Or do we have to pedal ourselves? We have to pedal ourselves up a hill.
A hotel room?
Oh, you want to stay at a hotel? Okay. Yeah, I'm kidding. Yes, we could make a hotel. I was sitting there thinking, tent and camp, but
sure.
Not every night.
Okay, we could have tents, have the saddlebags, and do the whole New Mexico, middle of nowhere camping awesomeness. Yes. Every other day or so, it's going to be a hotel, and I'm going to just cook myself in the shower, and then we're going to sit to a restaurant, and I'm not going to travel po. I'm not traveling poor. I'm not. I mean, you can do the student thing, sleep on the gravel. My joints will not take laying on the floor.
It's okay. No, we won't do that. But what do you think about the idea of the solar array? They can make something that's good.
What would be the solar array for? To charge the bicycle?
Charge the batteries.
Oh. While
To
you're
give
moving.
them a charge. You could charge them while you're moving, and if you did deplete at whatever point you were stopped, you could be charging while the sun is up.
Because they have backpack solar panels also that you can buy where it has a rolled up solar panel. So when you get there, you just unroll the solar panel and plug it in, and it does it. So
And we could
it sounds to me like you're trying to do an off-grid travel.
Not
Where you're not
100%.
using-
Like you said, we can still stay at the hotel and eat out on occasion.
Oh, okay.
I was just thinking solar array so that you'll always have power for when we are camping. And besides that, we're gonna probably need to take your guitar, your awesome little guitar, smaller than mine, and
Yes.
I'll make some money while we go.
Okay. We would also need to charge, I'm guessing, cameras because it's 2024. It's the 2020s. So if you're not vlogging it, you're not doing it, right?
Right. We gotta
So
vlog
we'll also need wireless. We would need to be able to upload and edit. So you're just wanting to do a cross-country bicycle vlog. Sure.
Yeah,
Sure.
we
I'm
don't.
down.
We don't have to make the vlog central to it. What's central to this would be, once again, going out and seeing America, only doing it on bicycles like we had always thought would be awesome to do. At a slower pace,
Yeah.
at a more windy, twisty, and longer, because it would be.
Yeah.
4 weeks was awesome. This would be 4 months, probably, or possibly more.
Well, I'll stew on it.
Yeah, stew on that.
Yeah. That it just
So now that we've
sounds like
covered that,
pain. It
No.
sounds like pain. Okay.
the thing is it doesn't have to be pain. I think that we will find some pain management strategies for you, and with the mechanical assistance of electrical motors, that's going to take a lot of the man strain off of it as well. At the end of the day, if this thing isn't just 100% enjoyable, then why would we even? Right?
True. Okay.
So
Okay.
that's
Sure.
that's really where my head is at. At whatever
Sounds
point
good.
that it's not enjoyable, we rewrap it.
Sounds good.
Now,
I'm game.
so where I was going with all that is just simply back to the whole technology thing, the horses and the cars, is that you're saying we can make a few little things on get a few innovations on tech that will help alleviate stress, and I'm thinking, well, that was what our heads were at when we invented things like the washing machine and the dishwasher, and later on the microwave, and before that all the light bulb and everything else.
Mm.
These were all designed to help de-stress, but if we were to now, here's an interesting question, because here's my brain working again. Are we thinking that there is more stress in the first world on a per capita basis than there was 150 years ago, or is there more stress just aggregate in the first world because there's 10 times more people or 100 times more people or however many more people we have now today? Is there more stress per capita? Because if there is more stress per capita, and the whole reason that we were inventing stuff and having these innovations was to try to alleviate stress, then we didn't succeed at alleviating the stress. We made it worse. But that's only if there's more stress per capita.
Have you
ahead.
you thought about a Sith name? Do you have a Sith name picked out? Do you want to be Darth Paul? Darth Paul. Are we going that? Okay. Absolutely. It can only be one. We could only have more stress here and less stress there, or less stress here and more stress there.
Are you
What is
saying
the
that
metric? And You're very Sith. Again, you're very Sith in your questions, and I know why you're doing it. I get it.
You know why
it's
it's so good? The reason why absolutes work so well is because what we're trying to do is we're trying to identify contradictions. And if you've got something that is just a little bit too ambiguous, a little bit too warm and fuzzy, a little bit too not absolute, not if you've got no constants to work with, no absolutes at all, then you can open yourself up for a Bible full of contradictions.
Yes, you can. Yes, you can. I guess my response to that would be we evolved with the understanding of the mechanics of this size and this time frame. We are this big. We have this big of fingers. We like clicky knobs, flicky switches, grabby things, and we like it to be somewhat linear and predictable. We're smart enough now that yes, or to be able to predict what's coming, and fairly simple. We are smart enough, and we have evolved to employ tricks to tell the story, to understand the story of what's going on beyond what we would normally. And so we're experiencing compression loss when it comes to concepts. Conceptual compression loss, I think, is one of the issues. And so the more you have compression loss, the more fuzzy it's going to be, and the more contradictions can build up or kind of overlap and not quite look like contradictions until you sharpen them, and then they become contradictions. But the other issue,
okay.
and I put it that way because a lot of what our stresses are immersive stresses from economies of scale. And economies of scale isn't the right, it's not the right term that I'm looking for. There's things that individual people do that are different from things that groups of people do. Right? You understand that? An individual people
totally dig, yes.
Okay. And you can see it in sheep and birds and gregarious creatures. So there's things that individual or small groups will do that's different than what large groups will do. That's different than what absolutely massive groups will do, which is different than what absolutely massive groups will do with other smaller massive groups inside them. And so we've built this society that's so complicated that humanity, a human being, I'm having trouble figuring out the good, the bad, where we're going, what we should be doing, right? The word should.
The should word.
The should, where you're trying to project your intention of where you think would be best. What I think would be best is I don't know. I don't know what would be best. I know what I don't like and what seems to cause more suffering, so I don't want more suffering. I know what people that are suffering will do when certain things are in their hands. So that's my idea with the guns. I'd like less guns so that people suffering used guns less on each other, because we just kill each other because it's not rational. You get the stress, you kill each other instead of killing who you think is the fault. And then even if you kill who you think is causing it, you're probably wrong. So
because it's so counterintuitive, isn't it?
It's so complicated that primates, we're at the end of we've compressed our ideas into memes so densely to just keep up what's going on, and it's still going through our fingers. We're still not grasping it, and it's only going faster and getting more complicated. I don't know why I was so contradictions. So when we do, there's something called also energy. Is it energy creep? energy blindness, where you get an energy saver, or you're able to use energy in a different way, a more effective way, like a car. And you think, oh, well, they're supposed to make it easier than a horse. That was the general idea. But the energy blindness idea is that with the car comes more energy that can be used, and we always do. We always seem to grow into the energy that we have available to us.
We grow into available resources.
Right. So what is that with money? You spend in accordance with how much you make. You rise.
Yes,
to the occasion.
your expenses will always rise to the level of your income.
Right. So with energy and blindness, that's the idea. With every invention that's supposed to make our life easier, it actually doesn't. It just causes us to do more with the energy that we've got. And that has been exponential for a long time with energy, with mechanical, and now with informational. It's I can't.
But
I'm doing this
but is that everybody?
all day long, and I can't keep up.
Is that everybody? Does everybody always do energy blindness? Does everybody who has an increase in their income have a corresponding increase in their quality of their expenditures? There are some people.
Right. That's where you get into the group dynamics, where an individual is going to do something different than a group of individuals, which will do something different than a large group of individuals. And as large group of individuals, a conglomeration of creatures trying to live a similar life, we always take advantage. We don't let energy go to waste. So if you had a pickup truck that could go 100 miles on a tank of gas, that'd be great. But gosh, that same pickup truck can go at 100 miles with a full load. And so now you're loading and you're putting more stress on other stuff, but you're not wasting energy. Even humans don't like to waste energy. We like to take advantage of it. Yeah.
Because if you're not hauling stuff in your truck, why would you even have the truck?
Right. So energy blindness, that's where you can get some contradictions. Is that what you were kind of asking about? The contradiction of life was supposed to get easier, but technology seems to make it harder? I
wasn't really saying life easier. I was really going with less stress, only because that was the exact thing that you were talking about, was with less stress.
Right, less stress.
You mentioned specifically that if we once we get the driverless car kind of thing worked out a little bit better, that could reduce stress. And I agree with you, actually, that would be a stress reducer. But the point that I was making with the 100 years ago, where we moved from cars to horses, and we moved from doing our laundry, by hand in a washing machine, was that even though the inventions and the innovations definitely did lead to less stress, we, just like you said, we found other things to then stress out on. We found other ways to use our spare time. Mm-hmm. Yeah. And
feature creep.
And the question is that a bad thing? I don't know if I could just sit there and say, that's bad.
Again, I'm going to have to refer to, at different focuses, at different levels, there's different things that we want. As an individual, this is bad. It's all bad. As an individual human being trying to get through life and be happy, it's going to kill us all.
So, well, here's the question then. Is it harder for an individual today to be happy and fulfilled, going up Maslow's hierarchy of needs, than it was for an individual 150 years ago?
Man, I could argue both sides. I could argue both ways. But I'm going to have to go with not more or less, but different.
Mm-hmm. Exactly.
Again, go back to that.
But not more and not less. Right. But not more and not less.
No, I'm gonna say more.
Oh, well, are you going to say more?
I am going to say more. Because how many people back in the Wayback Machine when they're all riding horses, how many were worried about global thermonuclear war? Some
Not a single damn one of them.
Right. Or a singular event that was going other than Judgment, other than Judgment Day, which they were quite worried about. They weren't
Probably
worried
some
about
of them.
things. They didn't know what they didn't know. And we know that there are existential threats out there. And there's
Now,
damn
they
little we can
had-
do about it.
They had some existential threats. Just
Sure.
It was on an individual level
Right.
that we don't have to
Right.
deal with today. Like
Right.
there was people that would just drop dead from infection.
There's still people that drop dead from infection. We're still
There's
dealing
just
with
a-
a lot of the same stuff, depending
way
on how much
less-
money you have.
Way less per capita. If we're talking
And-
first
but
world.
you got to have right. You have to have the dollars. There's a lot of people that weren't in my position that die from the disease.
I'm
So-
saying your typical antibiotic today that helps the vast majority of people from dropping dead from infection is super cheap, free in Walmart on a lot of cases. So talking first world again. So I'm on a per capita basis. We do not even worry so much about infection anymore. Not so much.
Right. Right. Not well.
So that would
I
have been
do.
that would have been a thing.
I do.
I know you do, and you're right to. But 20 years ago, you didn't give a damn about it,
Right.
and 20 years ago, you would have been
Nearly immortal.
early to mid 30s, right? Early to mid 30s, and so you were 20 years ago approaching now, not totally there, but approaching the point at which there would have been a vast majority of people who were like going, I'm getting on in my golden years. 30 was over the hill 150 years ago.
And 30 tried to kill me. I've got scar tissue from it now, from the diseases and the infections and the weakness, the transition into elderly, where modern science is what kept me alive. There's that
30,
antibiotic you were...
30 years
Yeah.
old?
I had...
Tried to kill you?
Yeah.
Oh, that.
Yeah,
Well-
I had infections. Was going through health issues. And like you're saying, there's a reason that so many people died in their 30s, because that was when they were just old enough that their immune system was vulnerable enough to be killed by a basic infection. And so I would have already been dead lots of times from 30 on. So yeah, you're absolutely right. I didn't worry about death from infection like that, although I should have been, and we all should have been, because the bill comes due with
Yeah.
with
So on
drugs.
a global level, on a massive population level, yes, we have the existential threat. Fuck beach. Existential threat of nuclear annihilation. Yes, we have that. But 150 years ago, they didn't have that. They certainly knew, though, that if you got pricked by the wrong freaking twig, if you
or a thimble. Sleeping Beauty was pricked by a thimble. If your job
If you
was
got-
to sew,
yeah, if you
that
got
was
scraped
high
by
turnover rate for seamstresses.
you got scraped by the wrong rusty, cast iron whatever,
Yeah,
that was it for you.
did.
And there was also other diseases as well that we've also eradicated. So on an individual level, there was that existential. You just knew, there were just not a whole ton of people running around who were 50 plus back in those days. It was rare. That was novel, and you knew that was novel, and that's probably why we considered them very wise, and we were right to do that. As opposed to today, where you could talk to a lot of people who are considered boomers, and you'd be just like, some of them, not all, some,
Yeah.
not all, but some of them are like,
Yeah. But we have concepts for this. The whole concept of mo money, mo problems. More technology, more potential for problems. I think our ability to to recognize danger has become increased. I think the amount of information we take in, of course, what was the stat? There's a person today in one day takes in more information than people a few hundred years ago took in their entire lifetime.
Could be that. Certainly could be that.
So, and we're not, that's the whole issue with evolution, where we're running 95 software on Windows 11. It worked sort of better on Windows 7 when Christianity and religion and the limitations were on us. But we're talking about Windows 12 with built-in AI. Man, our programs do not run well on that, and
no,
I think that's part of the stress too. If you go to someone in Africa, I mean, the classic trope, the dirt floors, and there's other cities. There's fucking cities in Africa, but if you go to,
I know
the most marginalized, they're probably not worried so much about AI. I would think. They're probably not worried about robots, but I promise you, within the next 5 years, even they will know about it and they will worry.
Certainly might. So
the technology is going to overpass everyone that thinks that everything is good and is ignorant of what's going on. Shit's going to catch up to the human race real quick.
So let's recap real quick. If I'm understanding you right, and you correct me if I didn't get this right, but you're suggesting that it would have been easier for somebody 150 years ago to ascend Maslow's hierarchy of needs than for somebody born today.
There was less rungs. There was just less rungs.
I don't know if I would necessarily agree with that, but if you did want to use that as an analogy,
today includes a cell phone and wireless internet. If you don't have a cell phone and connectivity, you can't pay for stuff. There's bills you just cannot. There's resources you just cannot have without cell phone and internet connection. So
we're talking first world, of course.
Third world. You think they don't have cell phones in India in the third world? And the reason they only get microloans and do transactions, the drug dealers are making deals on cell phones with dirt floors. So the cell phone has become a rung in the hierarchy of needs. It's become a human need. So go back in the Wayback Machine, your needs were something warm, some food, and a shelter, and hopefully a wife. And that was it, because there wasn't anything else. There was nothing to expect. There was no higher rung to get to. You were capped at level 5 in an MMO, and today we have level 100. So I think the stresses are different. I think the stresses are more nuanced, and not only do you have the stresses of knowledge, it's because all internal stresses of what's possible, what you don't have. You also have the stresses you had back in the day of ignorance and what you don't know and what you're afraid of. So I think we've compounded stresses, but we've also compounded our solutions. So we are conflict flesh. The human experiences, man, it's all of it.
So let me ask you a question real quick, and maybe you can research this stat to get a good number. But at this point today, if we could speculate or even just get the number, how many people of our 8 billion people on this planet actually carry an internet-connected device?
Percent. As of third quarter 2023, around 96.5% of global users access the internet via mobile phones, while over 94.6% reported doing so via mobile phones. By comparison, internet access via laptop or desktop is 62%. Here we go. Statistics and facts. Statista of except necessary for whatever. Global number of online users worldwide 2022. How about that? That's kind of.
Let's see what it says.
It's hard. The more complicated things get, because you can have internet access, but then cell phones make that different.
Yeah, but when you said that you could consider smart device or cell phone in this case, and internet access kind of part of Maslow's hierarchy of needs, a rung above food, shelter, and clothing. I was kind of like, okay, so what percentage of our 8 billion people have achieved that rung?
Well, as I'm looking at the statistics, by percentage, by millions, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. North America is the 5th highest. It's not the highest. It's the 5th highest.
Okay.
People that have more internet connection than us: Southeast Asia, the Americas, Southern Asia, and Eastern Asia. Asia has way more people connected than us.
But we're talking about not percentages, but actual numbers.
In millions. Number of internet users worldwide in millions. Yeah, so North America is at 444 million, and Eastern Asia is 1.235 billion.
Okay, so we're still less than half.
That's not answering the question, though, that you asked.
But if I was gonna just speculate based on those numbers, I would probably say we're still less than half.
Maybe I should put, instead of percentage of people, put percentage of population.
Yeah. Try that.
You still need some Google flu even in 2024. A total of 5.35 billion people around the world were using the internet at the start of 2024.
Did you say 5?
66.2%. 66.2%.
Sweet. Okay. That's great. We're over half.
We're over half.
Okay. I should only think that's a good thing. The question of whether or not, the question of whether or not somebody can survive without the internet is going to be their own thing. And my thinking is, if somebody wanted to live off grid in that way, they could probably find a way to do it.
Right.
Even if it was in the United States.
But you're not gonna live off grid in society without one. You're
not in society per se, not in social media, but
you're going to have to live in the woods in a cabin with a fire and a lake.
Are you saying you wouldn't be able to have friends?
No. Only if they're within, earshot.
You wouldn't be able to live in a city with no smartphone. And keep in mind, when I say no smartphone, that doesn't necessarily mean that you don't have a computer with an internet access so that you can have credit cards and all that stuff.
Right. See,
you just
now,
wouldn't
I say
have
smartphone,
you just wouldn't have your smart device with you all the time.
Right. The smart device, a smartphone, is cheaper than a laptop.
True.
The majority of people use their phones for their business and not a laptop. So you go over to India, they're not carrying around briefcases with laptops in it. You go over to India, they have cell phones and they're doing all their business through their cell phones. So when I say cell phone, I mean a computer, a device to access the internet and purchase goods and make trades and trade money. There's a lot of areas that don't take cash. They do, like, what was it, Venmo or Zillow or whatever
There are growing number of people around here that only take a credit card or the Venmo or the exchange.
We're like a decade behind Eastern Asia as far as that goes. They're way more advanced than us in using the cell phone for business.
I'm not sure about
cell
that.
phone pay or smart pay way before us. Hong Kong has way better phones, way better technologies, way better, and they have, again, way more people in their one city practically than our whole country. So
now Hong Kong was an outlier, though,
more than we are.
Hong Kong
was.
You're right. What I mean by that is that Hong Kong, while you could call it part of China, it was very separated from how the bulk of China is as a place to live.
Sure. But I wasn't. What I want to steer you away from is the idea that a cell phone is a luxury.
Oh no, I'm not thinking of that. I'm not thinking in that term.
It used to be a luxury. It used to be only for the rich, but now, if you're poor, the first electronic device you're going to be able to get is a cell phone, not a laptop.
Right.
So the cell phone is the bottom and the top. I mean, depending on the cell phone.
All you're saying there is that the cell phone is, by all comparative measures, a very achievable rung on Maslow's hierarchy of needs, that while it wasn't there 150 years ago, is today super achievable, and you might just toss that in there with food, shelter, and clothing. And so once you do that, we come back to the question, was it harder or easier for somebody 150 years ago to ascend Maslow's hierarchy of needs compared to somebody today?
Different. It's just different. I know you want me to give you a Sith answer, Darth Paul.
No.
But I don't. I can't. I could say, no, it's easier today. I could say this. I could say, no, it's easier today. We can rise up. We have more opportunity to make money, and we have more leverage than ever before in all of history because we have these devices. That is absolutely true.
We do have the leverage.
We do have more leverage if you're educated in it and you have, if you're able to leverage it. There are people.
The learning curve on this leverage is pretty short.
It is today. It didn't used to be. And as you were pointing out, not everyone has it, so it's not ubiquitous. It's not a thing that everybody has. I can
not worldwide.
Not everybody has the setup that I have in front of me. I have what looks like an octopus, an electric octopus of articulating arms with devices on the end. It makes me happy. But
hashtag blessed.
Yes. But I'm struggling with that technology. I can't. I am able to have. I have enough resources and enough income to buy my gadgets that I like to make it convenient and convenient for me. But I have yet to make any money from it. I have yet to use it, except for the website for the center and things like that. I have yet to leverage the science fiction fantasy of a desk that I have in front of me. And at the same time, I know that there's some 12-year-old Indian kid on the street that's inventing an app that's going to have a million downloads. And
that means the learning curve could be no more than 12 years.
Even less. Or
I know exactly.
Or if you're having issues, stressed out, busy, if you have other encumbrances, the learning curve is unreachable. I can't get to the peak. So it's different. Instead of using just muscles and instinct, we now can only survive with education. We still need muscles. We still need to move and be healthy and support the brain, but modern life is almost entirely cerebral. And man, and maybe I'm just whining for my own because my own
Yes,
issues.
you are.
I have cooked my neurons with so many toxic chemicals that I am upset by it. But at the same time, I'm still pushing. I'm still recording, still going. But
Don't ever stop.
But you could, but that's how I get to where it has to be on the hierarchy of it's a tool. I would say as important as vegetables, because you're gonna have a hard time getting vegetables without it.
I totally agree with you. I was only testing your. I was basically testing you. Essentially, I was testing you. That's all.
Okay. Darth Paul.
Anyway, let's call this one a good yes. And you are my. I can't call you my Padawan learner. You'd have to be my apprentice.
Is that how you're seeing this? Okay.
Oh, wait a minute. Am I the apprentice?
No, I think you're the Sith and I'm the Jedi. Is how it's working.
What?
And I don't think either of us are very good at it. I'm going with that.
I'm Darth Jar Jar and you're my Anakin.
Oh dear. I'm trying to figure out who I feel like Grievous. General Grievous, so I'm probably not even part of any of that. Do you know you don't know who General Grievous is?
Oh yeah, I'm up on the lore.
The wheezing sickly mechanic. I feel more like Grievous. I'll get better.
But he had great gadgets.
He had an octopus-like array of high-tech gadgets. I feel maybe Doc Ock should be my guy. More Doc Ockish.
Okay, but he wasn't a Jedi, so.
I'm not a Jedi either. I am no Jedi.
Well, in that case, you're just going to have to let me have my absolutes.
Okay, I do. I work with it. I'll still call you out.
Don't ever stop.
The only reason I want to just take 2 seconds here. The only reason I get frustrated with the Sith or you wanting an answer, a dichotomy, is I get frustrated because I know I'm not going to answer it like that.
Well, I'm not. When I'm trying to get an answer, I'm also not trying to pin you down to an either or. Really, right. I'm not. It's mostly just a. If there's a third option, if there's a fourth option, if there's a spectrum of options, just point me in the direction.
I'm still going to take the bait, but it makes me feel like that guy that's trying to weasel out. It makes me almost see Jordan Peterson in my approach to answering your questions, because he tries to get around the ones that he doesn't like to answer, and I'm just trying to answer the one.
It's never meant to be in bad faith.
I know.
Good.
I know it is. I know it's not. I know it's not meant in bad faith. That's why I take the bait every time. I take the bait.
Nom 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 nom.
Nom 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 nom.
All right, dude. Let's call it good. I got a jam.
Peace. Have fun.
Good episode.
Yeah.
Everybody, should we like, share, and subscribe?
Downvote and fuck off. How about that?
Ooh, I like it.
Downvote and fuck off. What's Amazing Atheist is peace the fuck out. Yeah, downvote and fuck off. I'll go with that. Woo! Bye.
See ya.